This is a short video from Precision Analytical to update you on some changes we've made to our reporting format. The reporting format remains the same for pages 1 and 3 that simply list the hormones and their values and the ranges, but we've made some updates to the graphical pages to make it a little bit easier to read. The format of the gauge that you'll see is a little bit simpler, but the basic same information is there just to make that a little bit easier to read. We've also made the progesterone, DHEAS, testosterone, E1 and E2, kind of your primary hormones. We've made those a little bit larger to stand out a little bit better. The androgens, information on the androgens exists in this top box as well in this lower left box, and so we've kind of connected those two as they are interconnected, and we've also taken out androstenediol that was redundant in the top box and is still down here in the bottom box. With respect to androgen metabolism, the 5-alpha reductase activity has been simplified in that we've removed the 5-alpha and the 5-beta metabolite for cortisol because we found that led to a little bit of confusion for some people, and it's not that additive, so we've removed it there, and you can just see the 5-alpha versus 5-beta metabolism, which is now color-coded, 5-alpha in the blue and 5-beta in the red. And you can see here is 5-alpha DHT, which is your most potent androgen. And we really want to look for patients who really promote 5-alpha reductase. That's kind of what we're looking for in this section. So we've removed the actual measurement of 5-alpha DHT from the top right box, and we're listing that value still on page 1, but not listing it here. And the reason for that, as we've explained many times in terms of some of the confusion there conceptually, is that DHT is a paracrine hormone, and most of it, as it's made within the cell from testosterone. It exerts its androgenic effect, and then it is metabolized to androstenediol before being released in circulation. So there's pretty good literature references that show that DHT is not really a very good marker for itself. So you really want to look at this overall picture. What's my testosterone? What's my overall androgenic load? And then look at that metabolism to see how much is going 5-alpha versus 5-beta to sort of infer DHT production. And we find that correlates a lot better with thinning scalp hair and acne and increased facial hair, those sorts of things that are intended to correlate with androgenicity. So there's some simplicity there in terms of that. And then with respect to the estrogens, we've cleaned that up a little bit. We've color-coded the arrows here for the phase 1 metabolism to correspond to the pie charts as far as which color represents which one. And then we've also added this conceptual piece so we can see that the main reason that we're concerned about 4-hydroxy-E1 in particular is that if it's not methylated, then it can form a quinone, which can attach to DNA and actually break a piece of the DNA off. So as you're trying to explain that to your patients, then there's a little bit of a visual guide there to show why that has significance for them. And then you can see the 2-hydroxy-E1 down here, and then the methylation has been flipped in the other direction, but you can see the 2-methoxy-E1 here for methylation, so that is unchanged. It's just moved around a little bit. So we think that will be a little bit clearer in terms of explaining some of that to your patients. The daily free cortisol pattern is unchanged in its format, and then the adrenal page has been simplified somewhat in that we've taken out these indices of metabolism of cortisol. So it tends to add a little bit of confusion in some cases, and really you can see that there is a very intuitive connection here in that if free cortisol, as in this case, is low and metabolized cortisol is elevated, then obviously you've got increased metabolism. And likewise, if you've got elevated free cortisol and you've got a low level of metabolized cortisol, then obviously you've got down-regulated metabolism. But the index itself, in some cases, add more confusion than clarity, and the information is all actually still there. And we've changed the name to make this a little more intuitive. It used to read total cortisol metabolites, which when it starts with the words total cortisol, people tend to think of that as the free cortisol total, which it's not. The gauge on the top there is the daily total of free cortisol, and this is then the combination of all the metabolized cortisol here on the bottom. So I think that'll be a little bit more intuitive. And then as with page 2, page 4 also has age-dependent DHEAS ranges. It's the hormone that varies the most with age, and you can see when you jump out of that 20 to 40 category upward, the expected values go down quite a lot. So it's not really possible for one reference range to well represent all of those groups. So hopefully that will be a little bit easier in terms of just having a simpler report. But again, all the information is still there. All the same metabolites are still being measured, just a simplified format for you there. So I hope that's been helpful in terms of just clearing that up. I think this will be an improvement in terms of having clearer results, and also just as a sneak peek of what's coming right at the end of the year, we hope, is that we'll be adding melatonin testing to the comprehensive hormone profile, and so you can look for some information on that soon. If you have any questions on the report format, feel free to reach out to us. If you have any older reports that happen to be of particular interest that you'd like to have converted to the new format, certainly let us know and we can do that. So thank you very much.